This week I've been driving a beast. It's black, it's mean looking, and it has a price tag that should excite families who are looking for a dual purpose car. A workhorse that can take care of the job and the family. What is this unicorn? It's the GWM Ute Cannon Vanta, and it competes against other Utes like the SsangYong Musso, the LDV T60 Max, and while it has all the goods on paper, does it deliver on them? Stay watching to find out. There are 7 models for the Cannon lineup, and this sits second from the top and will cost you $46,490 drive away. That price tag does place it just in between its competitors, and you get lots of goodies for your cash, so you feel like it's well worth your change. These are just a few of the items that come standard. Heated and electric front seats, synthetic leather trims throughout, plus you get an assisted tailgate and a full-size spare wheel in this. The full specs are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au if you want more info. The Vanta is distinguished from its siblings by all of the black accents, like the blackened grille, the wheels, the side mirrors, and the chunky sports bar at the back, and it all creates a very robust curbside presence. On the interior, we see a move away from a Vin Diesel aesthetic to a more Jason Statham one. It looks really purposeful inside with the wide dashboard, chunky air vents, and massive steering wheel. But you get more of a refinement with this quilted synthetic leather trim with the bronze piping. I've been in my fair share of Utes, but this would have to be one of the roomiest I've been in lately. It's got plenty of head and leg room, and you're not even jostling for elbow room because it's got quite a good width to it. I love the space in here, and taller passengers and drivers will love it too. The front seats are very well padded and both are electric with heating function, but there's no additional lumbar support, and you're going to notice that on a longer trip. A small little note about that heating function though. You have a button on the dash, but it only takes you to the menu where you can actually select it, and it's a little bit fiddly to adjust while you're on the road. Individual storage options are pretty good up front, with a middle console that has a sliding tray, the usual drink bottle holders, plus you get a glove box and a cool utility tray. Let's talk about tech, because this is where it's let down a little bit for me. The 9-inch touchscreen multimedia system looks really good but isn't intuitive to use. It can get laggy, and I couldn't maintain a Bluetooth connection this week. I also couldn't get the wired Apple CarPlay going, which is a real shame, despite a lot of time troubleshooting it and trying other phones with it. I use this feature a lot, so that was disappointing. Things being laggy and a little bit glitchy do seem to be a running theme for the car. Even when you first turn it on, there can be up to about 5 seconds delay before the engine actually kicks in, which might just be a quirk for this particular car and not reflective of the model in general, but it didn't inspire a lot of confidence on a cold winter's morning. Another example of this is when you switch between the drive modes. When you do switch, you get a sound and a badge alert that pops up onto the dash. Sometimes it will do it 2 or 3 times as if it hasn't registered that first selection, which is a little bit weird. The charging options up front are pretty good with 2 USB-A ports, a 12-volt port, and a wireless charging pad. And I like it that when you do use the charging pad and you turn off your car, you get a little reminder message on the dash telling you not to forget your phone. I'm in the back seat and I am thoroughly impressed with how much comfort I have back here. Plenty of head and leg room, seats are really well padded and super supportive. The individual storage is pretty good for a Ute, but I would have liked to have seen a couple of cup holders back here as well. I really like that you've got a USB-A port and a 220-volt port too, which is great for if you go camping or anything and you want to charge up a bigger item. My 6-year-old didn't have a problem getting in and out of this one, but you absolutely need to have the side steps and the grab handles because he definitely used both this week. A little note about the doors is that they don't seem to latch properly unless you really slam them shut. There are ISOFIX child seat mounts on the outboard seats and only 2 top tethers, so you're only going to fit 2 child seats back here anyway. However, this is probably one of the easiest Utes I've had to fit an actual child seat in, which you can't always say about this type of car. A really cool feature of this back seat is that it's got a 60-40 split fold, which makes it actually even easier to put in individual car seats or take them out if you need to. But you can also fold the seats up, click them into place, and then you get some extra storage space. The only thing that I was surprised at is that when you pop them back into position, they don't click into place. You can move them around. The tray is squared and is 1,520 millimeters by 1,520 millimeters. I really like how grippy the liner is and how wide this assisted tailgate is. I wasn't sure how I was going to actually jump into the back to get gear, but then I discovered that it has an extendable step ladder, which I thought was pretty cool. You get a full-size spare wheel in this, but I did miss having some sort of cover over this tray. All Cannons share the same engine, a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine with a max power output of 120 kilowatts and 400 newton meters worth of torque. It has a 3-ton braked towing capacity, so your weekend pursuits should be good to go. This is a 4-wheel drive and has an 8-speed auto transmission, which surprisingly produces pretty clunky gear changing. And I wouldn't really bother putting it into sports mode because I found it to be quite an unpleasant experience. This has been an experience to drive this week, and I'm kind of getting the vibes of a workhorse from the 1990s. It doesn't have the refinement that we're starting to see on other utes in the market at the moment. I really love the power in this, but it delivers a very truck-like experience on the road, which can be jarring at times. You might not care if you're sort of looking at this for an off-roader, and it does have 4-wheel drive low range for those enthusiasts. The steering is responsive and you can change the sensitivity levels. You are in a high vehicle though, so you're going to get some roll in corners. Unfortunately for me, the ride comfort just isn't there. It's a real jiggler and shaker, and I got a lot of vibration underneath my seat this week. It's not something I would want to do a long road trip in, and while my husband did agree that it is a rougher ride, he didn't mind it so much from the passenger side, so go figure. The cabin can get quite loud with road and wind noise at higher speeds, but you can chat fairly easily, so it's not too much of a bother. I really love the high ride position and that the visibility out of the windows is pretty good. This B-pillar is a bit chunky, so you do have to sort of look around it, but otherwise you've got really good visibility in this. A pretty good feature in this, which admittedly I didn't actually like when I first saw it because I thought it was a bit of a distraction, but when you're going slow enough, the surround view camera pops on. Now that's if you stop at traffic or if you're in stop-start traffic in the city. Like I said, found it to be a little bit distracting, but now I've come to love it, especially when you're pulling into a curbside park. It's really easy to line up your tires. This car is massive. It's even bigger than a Kia Carnival, but surprisingly not that hard to park. In fact, with the super clear camera system, it's downright easy. The only thing you might notice is that it does have a pretty large turning circle, 13.1 meters to be exact, which you might notice in a tighter car park. But besides from the occasional overhang of the tail, you're good to go. The official combined fuel cycle is 9.4 litres per 100 kilometres. My real world usage came to 10.3 litres, which I actually thought was pretty good for how big this car is. I did do a lot of open road driving this week though, so I do expect that to be much higher in the city. Based off the official combined fuel cycle and the 78 litre tank, you should see roughly 830 kilometres worth of driving range in this, which is still pretty good for those families who like to do road trips. There are some solid safety features on the Cannon, and I really like how clear the camera system is. It's probably one of the best that I've sampled. I also really like how there's a USB port ready for a dash cam should you want to install one. This was awarded a maximum 5-star ANCAP safety rating in 2021, and it also has 7 airbags, which is really good for a ute. It includes a front center airbag as well as curtain airbags covering that back row. Check out my full review at carsguide.com.au if you want more safety specs. The ongoing costs for this are really good. It comes with a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty, which is above average for the class. You can also get a 5-year cap price servicing plan for a flat $1,700 or an average of $340 per service, which is very competitive. Servicing intervals could get a little bit annoying if you put a lot of Ks on your car though, because they happen every 12 months or 10,000 kilometers, whichever occurs first. So did the GWM Ute Cannon Vanta have a podium finish for my family? Well, I love how it looks and how spacious the cabin is. Being able to reconfigure that back seat is really handy for storage, and I really like the tall driving position. But the ride is pretty darn rough and the tech a bit too glitchy for my liking, especially considering what's on the market nowadays. Now, those things might not bother you, and to be fair, this does what it can do. It's a workhorse, it fits the fam and the gear, so it does manage to get a 7 out of 10 from me. My son is a real fan of Utes, but did comment on how bumpy the ride was too. Still, he gives it a 9 out of 10. Kids are pretty easily pleased. If you're after the full details, check out the written review at carsguide.com.au, and I'll see you next week.